Alright, so today is the 30th anniversary of Nas's Illmatic. I'm gonna skip all the fluff and all the "isn't this album amazing?" You know it, I know it. I've done multiple videos on songs from Illmatic. In one video, we looked at the beat from The World Is Yours, which was produced by Pete Rock. In another, I tried recreating Q-Tip's Pause tape for One Love. And in another, I broke down DJ Premier's work on New York State of Mind. There was also a surprise at the end of that one. One of the highlights of my life is in that video. But today we're going to talk about yet another incredible producer who worked on this album, Large Professor. He produced multiple songs on this album, but today we're looking specifically at the last song on the album, It Ain't Hard to Tell. This song has its own journey as there's multiple versions of this song, but, well, the easiest way to navigate this is to use a metaphor. That's right, it's metaphor time. That's the point in the video where I talk about something completely unrelated, then apply it to the song we're talking about. You go, oh, that's what he means. I thought you were just really passionate about potatoes. You remember that metaphor? That was a good one. Anyway, here we go. Do you know the cooking competition show Chopped? It's on the Food Network, so I really only get to watch it on the hotel TV these days, but the idea of the show is this. 4 chefs come on and compete by cooking an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert. The twist is that at each of these steps, they're provided a basket of ingredients that they must use for the challenge. They have a full pantry and fridge of food they can use too, but they have to use the basket ingredients. Every chef has the same basket ingredients. It's stuff like pork shoulder or raspberries or Jordan almonds. It's always Jordan almonds, isn't it? If you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. The only reason I know what Jordan almonds are is because of Chopped. They're like sugar-coated almonds, but these chefs have to figure out a way to make a pork dish that uses Jordan almonds or whatever the basket ingredients are. Wow, we're really getting into the weeds of this show, but anyway, quickly, the point is, each of these chefs will come up with radically different things using some of the same basket ingredients. So here comes the analogy. Instead of chefs, it's producers, and instead of basket ingredients, it's samples. And what I want to focus on today is Large Professor's ability to make one thing with the basket ingredients, then turn around and make something entirely different, but use the same ingredients, and then do it again. So, before Illmatic was even close to being made, It Ain't Hard to Tell started as a song called Nas Will Prevail from 1991. This was on Nas's original demo tape that he shopped around. This demo version is really a completely different song. Nas's verses are different, and even though Large Professor used the same samples, it sounds and feels very different. Check this out.
It ain't hard to tell, I excel and prevail. The mic comes in contact with the third rail.
Now, on YouTube, I have to cut this short, but, well, watch to the end of this one because I have a surprise for you. These verses are different, the beat is different. This is the demo after all, or the appetizer, if you will, keeping with the metaphor. So let's check the basket ingredients. The samples here are Human Nature by Michael Jackson from 1982. As well as NT by Kool and the Gang from 1971. Listen for the horn part. Now listen over here. That horn part carries over. Now, keeping with this chopped metaphor, this demo was recorded in 1991, and in 1993, before the release of Illmatic, another chef used one of these basket ingredients in their own dish. Sorry, what I mean is the group SWV released the Human Nature remix to their song Right Here, which was produced by Teddy Riley. This remix features a sample of Human Nature. I mean, that's obvious by the name, but check this out. So Nas and Large Professor make Nas Will Prevail in 1991 as part of Nas's demo, and it samples Human Nature. Then in 93, this SWV song comes out and also features Human Nature, and it's a huge hit. It's on the soundtrack to Free Willy. You remember that movie? This would be understandably disappointing. As Nas said, after me, SWV did Right Here with the same sample. I felt like I was responsible for that record, but the reality is that Human Nature was such a beautiful song, people wanted to replay that. When the SWV record came out, I was pissed because if I was to have a record for the radio, that was the perfect one. And when SWV took the shine, it was like, oh no, of course it was on my first album. I was like, wait, how am I gonna get Michael Jackson to clear this? And then I realized, oh we're label mates, so we made it happen. Rather than be discouraged that SWV was using the same sample, Large Professor and Nas went back and re-recorded Nas Will Prevail, which turned into really a completely different song, which ended up being It Ain't Hard to Tell, the last track on 94's Illmatic. Nas's verses are different on this version, and Large Professor has remade the beat, once again sampling Human Nature, but in a different way. On the Nas Will Prevail demo, Large Professor sampled Human Nature in one spot at the beginning, but on It Ain't Hard to Tell, he's grabbing another spot too. So just to show you my layout here, the top track, the yellow, that's Nas's It Ain't Hard to Tell. Then below that we have Human Nature on this orange track right here. This is the sample from the beginning that he's grabbed, but then all the way at the back here, we've got this sample. So let's solo this and listen to this. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's play the beginning part as well. And then what I've done is I have made these two tracks here for bass and vocal. So if I isolate just the vocal, here's that beginning part. Right? I, of course, am EQing this a lot. And then we have the bass part at the beginning. Check out this EQ. I am just rolling off all the highs, boosting the lows. But wait, do you remember the sample from Nas Will Prevail? It was NT by Kool and the Gang. Large Professor is sampling that same song here again, but with a completely different part of the song and a different horn line. Here's the actual track, and it's much later, all the way back here. On this track, I'm also isolating some stuff with the EQ here, and I'm going mono on the right. Add in a drum sample from Stanley Clarke and you got a new dish entirely. Drum-wise, we got Slow Dance by Stanley Clarke. Check this out. Great song. All we need is that first opening drum part though. Taking that, put it on this track. I have compressed it. I've boosted the lows, rolled off the highs a little bit. Let's hear what that sounds like. There's one other sample in here, which is from the song Long Red. Take a listen. Yeah! That I have pasted this down. These are, by the way, a lot of these are pitched down to match the record as well. Yeah! Let's listen to the drums and the auxiliary stuff. So we got drums, we got the yaz, we got the horn line. Now all we got to do is add back in the Human Nature samples. Same ingredients, completely different beat from Nas Will Prevail and Right Here by SWV. But wait, this is where it gets even better. Large Professor used Human Nature and NT in both Nas Will Prevail and It Ain't Hard to Tell, right? And SWV sampled Human Nature for Right Here. Well, DJ Premier also sampled NT for another song, which is also on Illmatic, New York State of Mind. Another basket ingredient, another completely different way to use it. Here's New York State of Mind. Yeah. And here's the drum sample from NT. Primo is grabbing the drum break from later in the song. Of course, he's slowed this way down. Again, there's more of that in a different video, but earlier in the song is the sample from Nas Will Prevail. Right, we already looked at that. But even earlier in the song is the sample from It Ain't Hard to Tell. Right? These are all the same basket ingredient used 3 different ways by 2 different producers, all for the same artist, with 2 of these songs being on Illmatic. If we're talking chopped, this is the main dish right here. Oh, but then Primo takes it a step further. You ready? On New York State of Mind, Primo is scratching the phrase Nasty Nas. This is a sample directly from Nas's verse on Live at the Barbecue by Main Source, which was Nas's debut. And who's in Main Source? Large Professor.
When I was 12, I went to help for stuffing Jesus. Nasty Nas.
That right there.
Nasty Nas. Nasty Nas is a...
It's like if Primo is cooking, he's not only incorporating the basket ingredient, but he's also grabbing an ingredient from Large Professor's restaurant. So in this metaphor, the demo, Nas Will Prevail, is Large Professor's appetizer. It Ain't Hard to Tell is his entree, and we've seen how other producers cook up different songs using the same samples. But what about the dessert round? Well, that would be the Ain't Hard to Tell remix. So here's the surprise I promised at the beginning. The Diggin' the Greats Patreon currently has 3 tiers: free, kick it, and the producers tier. And when I make these videos, I make them for Patreon first, and they're much longer. Sometimes a few minutes, sometimes almost twice as long. There's just so much extra stuff that has to be edited out for YouTube. The members of the Kick It and Producers tier get access to these extended full edits of the video. It really is just so much better. But the longer, better edit of this video, that's available to the free tier right now. That video not only includes much longer examples and more analysis, but I also get into the dessert round, the remix of this song, and there's even more to the story. Seriously, the full edits are so much better. I can do stuff over there that I cannot do here. To watch the extended full edit of this video, head over to patreon.com/diggingthegreats and sign up for the free tier. Link in the description. I'll meet you over there. Remember when I used to just freeze and I'd be like, for that story, you gotta click here. That was weird. Why did I do that? Walking off is way better.